Antichamber is a puzzle game which feels very similar to Portal and The Witness. It has very similar puzzles to Portal, which are very mind-bending and crazy, but the game feels a lot like a giant puzzle box similar to The Witness. It starts out with a bunch of solitary puzzles, chambers with an individual puzzle for you to solve, but eventually the game devolves into figuring out which puzzles flow into other puzzles. Antichamber is very interesting puzzle mechanics, built around perception of your environment and how it reacts to you. As you progress through the game, however, and you move on from single chamber puzzles to more extended puzzles involving multiple rooms, you start to feel like a madman, finding spots you can find cubes and bringing them elsewhere, looking for a single thread to start unraveling things. The game's biggest strength is also its biggest weakness. The puzzles and game physics are just so weird that sometimes solving a puzzle can feel very arbitrary. At times, the player will feel clever when they solve a puzzle, but other times you might not even be sure you solved anything. One big example of this is a maze. You go through all this effort to solve it, only to get put back at the beginning. Did you solve it? Was the maze pointless? Is there something obvious I'm missing? Arguably, this is the largest flaw of the game, and yet it probably wouldn't feel the same without it. After I'd been playing the game for at least a couple of hours, I really felt like I had no idea where to go. I had found so many puzzles and areas that I really had no idea which place was a good area to explore next. I mean, just look at this map screen. Look at it! How am I supposed to make heads or tails of it? I kinda have an idea of where stuff is, but there's not much in the way of actual help. Everything is just a giant mess, and you have to remember most of it rather than have an easy reference. This is one of the few games with a map where I still feel like I have to draw a map anyways. The other big problem Antichamber has is that the further you get, the harder it is to find new threads to unravel. This definitely feels intentional, whereas other flaws in the game can feel like the game lacks direction at times. This one seems to have been done on purpose. The developers don't want you having a sense of certainty about the events in the game. They want the player to feel like any room could have the missing puzzle piece. Ultimately, I think the game was very worthwhile to play. However, I think there were times when the dimension-shifting puzzles could be more frustrating than fun, and later puzzles felt more like you were manipulating blocks in weird ways, rather than messing with physics. A lot of the dimension shifting felt more like you were searching for secret passages rather than using logic to work out a solution. Like I mentioned before, there are lots of puzzles that feel like you're just brute forcing a solution rather than directly solving them. My final verdict for this game is that it's very fun, and you'll enjoy it if you like puzzle games, but you might feel tempted to look up a guide online.